Hello, this is Coriander of Coriander Quilts, and we have a new studio. I have a new $5 pattern of the month and a new 2025 Works in Progress challenge. All sorts of new things for today, so stick around. Welcome. This is the very first day I am filming in this studio. It feels kind of strange. It is a lot roomier than where I was filming before, and it's going to be so nice to be able to not only film in this space, but then also to be able to grab fabrics and notions and work in my sewing studio. This is filming/sewing studio now rather than just one or the other, and that's going to work really nicely. We had it set up this way years back. If you've been with me for a number of years, you may remember that we used to film with the fabrics in my sewing room in the backdrop, but the setup in our old home was not nearly as nice as it is here, because I would have had lights and cords and equipment really in my workspace, whereas in this space everything is tucked up and you can't see it, and I don't really have to work around it that much. So this makes it really nice to have everything just in one spot. No more running up and down steps over and over when I'm filming tutorial videos. So I'm excited about that. I can just work here and my sewing machine is just right over there and away we go. So this is going to work wonderfully. I hope you guys enjoy the new studio, the new setup. I will be sharing the whole Coriander Quilts workspace once it's completely set up. We had a couple furniture pieces that we haven't been able to move in just yet. Our weather has been beautiful for Ohio, sunny and snowy, so not nearly as many gray days, but it has made it a little bit trickier to get some furniture in here that we need to get in. So we'll be doing that hopefully before too long. Some things need to be taken apart a little bit more to be able to be moved into here, and slowly but surely. But once that happens, I will take everybody around on a full studio tour of the new Coriander Quilt space. And it's been fun to get settled in. It's been a lot of work. For the most part, our move went well. We had a wonderful moving crew. Our church has a moving ministry that we were not aware that our church had. And so we had a wonderful group of people show up the day of our move, and we had everything loaded up and moved and unloaded within probably, I think, 5 hours. So it went really fast. The downside that happened that week is Ryan broke his wrist. So he was not on the lifting part of our moving crew on the Saturday that we moved. But he's doing well. Some of you, I had shared that on social media, so some of you had heard about that. But that was the one thing that happened. I think it was the Tuesday of the week we were moving. He was painting in our new house. He already hates painting. And if any of you, some of you might remember, I was sharing in one of the studio update videos. It's been a few weeks, and I had mentioned how much Ryan dislikes painting. It's been something he just does not enjoy, has never enjoyed. And now he says he really hates painting because he fell off a ladder painting, and that's how he broke his wrist. So definitely not a fan of painting now, but he's doing well. And really, that was probably the big snafu. We had weather the Friday night before we moved, but our moving crew didn't show up until in the afternoon. So that gave plenty of time for roads to be cleared and slick spots to be erased before they showed up. And it all worked out really pretty nicely, all things considered. So we are getting settled in, and that feels good. So let's move on to, we'll start with $5 pattern of the month. For February, I've decided to offer Hello Friend for $5 over in my Etsy shop. It is available right now in either paper or PDF. Sometimes, depending on how popular a pattern is, the closer we get to the end of the month, the lower those paper patterns become in stock. And sometimes I might not have paper patterns left available by the end of the month. So if you know you want a paper version, go ahead and snag that right away. I've got the link to the Etsy shop for this pattern linked in the description box below. And you're going to notice when you look at the cover here that it is mocked up in Peachy Keen. I've recolored it since I made the first quilt, but it's in Peachy Keen on the cover, and I'm going to show you the original quilt that I made. This was made using Sunny Side Up, and here she is. So this is Hello Friend nice sized star blocks. And over on my blog today, I will have this mocked up in some other collections so that you can see what it looks like. We'll give her one more pivot here yet. And that is Hello Friend. Let's take a look at those fabric requirements. I'll lay this down here so you can take a look at those blocks while I chat about this pattern just a bit. So this is a fat quarter quilt. You need 12 fat quarters. You're going to need some background fabric. I used a white on white from the Sunny Side Up collection. Of course, any solid white would be beautiful, or any of the white on whites from my Coriander Seeds line of fabric work beautifully as a background. You're going to need fabric for the 9 patches. Here it is gray fabric that I used for the 9 patches. That's a solid. In the Peachy Keen version, it's a blue fabric. And then you also need sashing fabric. Again, you see a gray stripe here in my original Sunny Side Up. In the Peachy Keen version, it's a blue. And then you are going to need binding and backing fabric to complete your Hello Friend quilt. So that is, let me mention the size too. 54 by 71 is the finished size of this quilt. We'll take one more look at this Hello Friend quilt. The patterns, as I said, are over in my Etsy shop in both paper and PDF formats, and they are linked in the description box below. So that is a look at that February $5 pattern of the month. Next, I'm going to talk about these backdrop quilts. You guys really enjoyed the backdrop bundle that we offered with the last Starberry, Hollyberry quilts that we had hanging up behind me. So we're going to offer the backdrop bundle again with the new quilts that are hanging here. So what I have in the backdrop right now, this is Dashing. This is made using Cali & Co. We also have Barnstar 8 made using Cali & Co. And then tucked down below, you guys might remember Beholden. This one I chatted about in more detail in a recent video. So we're going to have that pattern in our backdrop bundle. Over on my other side, this is Loveliness. This was originally made using Sugar Creek fabrics. And then this final quilt of the 5 hanging here is called Like a Charm. Let me make sure I have that name right. Like a Charm. And Like a Charm is also made using Cali & Co fabrics. So Cali & Co is in quilt shops right now, so you can purchase those fabrics. So this is a nice bundle to purchase, and that Loveliness pattern would also be very striking, made using Cali & Co. So the backdrop bundle is also linked in the description box below. I'm going to also link each individual quilt below, so if just one of the 5 catches your eye, you have pattern information for just that one as well. These are all available in paper and PDF formats as well. If you have any questions about those quilts, feel free to ask. I do have the fabric requirements listed in the listing for each of those. So if you wondered what you might need for any of them, that information is available in each listing. Okay, phew, well, we got through new quilt information. The next thing I wanted to chat about is that Works in Progress challenge. I had mentioned this, it's been a few weeks. I lost track of my weeks here for a little bit, but sometime in December, I think it was December, I had mentioned that I would like to do a 2025 Works in Progress challenge to kind of encourage myself to get some things checked off my list. And if any of you wanted to join in, you are welcome to do so. It's going to be very casual. I always like the idea of setting these up so it best suits you. So if the way I'm doing it doesn't quite suit your fancy, but you like the idea of checking off some challenges, you like the accountability of maybe doing it with some friends, tailor it so it works best for you. You're going to see as I chat about this, I've done that for myself, and so do the same for yourself if you like the idea, but your parameters might look a little bit different than mine. So here's the way this is going to be working. I have chosen 11 projects that I would like to work on throughout this year, get some things checked off my list. And I've written them all down. I'm going to share them with you. And then every month on the first Saturday of the month, when I have my regular Saturday video, I'm going to choose one of the numbers, and then that is what I'm going to work on for that month. So these can be as specific or as non-specific as you want them to be. And really, they don't even have to be works in progress. I debated about adding on, like for example, I think you guys can see these bins I have back here. These two bins have not gotten sorted since we moved, and they were pretty good when we moved, but then I chucked things in there that needed to come over, and so they really need to be organized. And I debated about putting something like that on my list because I could have easily said, hey, sort your gray bins for 1 month. You know, that could have been what I wanted to tackle, but I opted not to. But maybe you have something like that that's maybe more of an organization goal for your sewing room. It doesn't even need to be sewing related. Maybe you want to use this in some other areas, whatever it might be. So, you know, it can be finishing projects. Some of mine are finishing projects. Some of mine are sending out quilt tops. Anyhow, let's go over them and then you can decide what works best for you if you want to join in. All right, so my first one that I would like to work on is these socialites blocks. This has been a project that I have had on my back burner for quite a while. If you participated in either of the socialites rounds, you know that it's been a little while since we made these blocks. Socialites was a sew along hosted by Fat Quarter Shop. There was 2 rounds and it resulted in quite a few blocks. I made all of my blocks using the same fabric, Springbrook. I don't remember if I mixed, it looks like I mixed in a little bit of Buttercup and Slate. So Springbrook and Buttercup and Slate. And I made them all using these same fabric lines for both rounds, knowing that I wanted to mix them all together. So I've got a whole bunch of these little, they'll be 3 inches finished. They're 3.5 inches right now, blocks that I need to sew into my quilt top. And I have shared these before, so some of you have seen them. They're just adorable. A lot of fun to make. I'm hopeful that we'll have another socialites round sometime soon because I do enjoy this sew along. I think it's a lot of fun. But let's see. I'm just going to quickly kind of go through them for those of you who might not have seen them. Whoops. Turn you that way. I should flip my list over so you guys aren't getting a sneak peek of my list ahead of time. I'll just keep that one, needs a little press. I've just had them in this little tin for, how long has it been? I don't know. It's been a couple years, right? Since we finished up that other round. The second round, I'm not even sure. But here we go. I'm getting there. I liked tucking these little bees into the centers of some of these fabrics. But I'm not quite sure. I had counted these all up at one point in time. I don't remember how many there are. A little sewing machine. Another little fussy cut center. That's cute. Anyhow, almost to the end of them. Nearly there. I think that one's so pretty. And last little fussy cut bee. All right, so what my plan is, and I've shared this on here before too, just haven't gotten it done. This is what I want to do. I want to do kind of a checkerboard with probably the gray squares being the little blocks, and then the white squares. I don't know if I will use this sketchy print for the white squares and then also for the top and bottom border here, or if I will use a white on white for the white squares, this for this border, and then this fabric here is just the cheater print that I did for Buttercup and Slate. So I've got plenty of this that I can use in that section. It's a thready little guy, but I have taken out some pieces here at the top, fussy cut some of those out to use in a different project, but I've still got quite a bit of yardage left of it. So that will be the top and bottom border. That is a project that I would like to finish, and I have added that onto my list. It's high time this was done. So that's the first one that I grabbed. Get all these little cuties tucked back into my bin. And then we'll move on to some of the other projects. This one I think will be fun to finish. I'm not as excited about finishing all of the things I have written down, but that's sort of my goal, is to get done some of these projects that I'd probably keep putting off even longer if I didn't have a reason to get them done. I think you guys probably have those projects too. Some of them we just push to the back burner and they stay there for a little bit longer than we want them to. Okay, next I have piece 1 or more of my Coriander Christmas blocks. So I've shared some of these, actually all of these at one time or another on this channel. And these are blocks from my book, A Very Coriander Christmas. And I have been remaking them using apricot and ash fabrics. Now, apricot and ash is very hard to find, but a bloom is coming out this spring in April. It's this fabric line right here. So a bloom looks beautiful with apricot and ash. And so it's kind of reminded me to get cracking on these blocks here. If I counted right, I made 9, but if I remember right, yes, I made 2 of the same block. So I really have 8 finished, which means I need 4 more. So I only have 4 more to complete. There is a fair amount of piecing in the sashing, but what I've written down is to just piece 1 or more of the main blocks. So that means if I draw my number 2, this is my number 2 item on my list. If I draw this for a month, I could just make 1 block. Or if I have a lot of extra time that month, I could make multiples. If I wanted to, and I'm really ambitious, I could even work on some of the pieced sashing. So this gives you, for those of you who might not have seen these blocks before, an idea of what these look like. And let me go. I can actually just go and grab the book because it's right around the corner. It used to be upstairs when I was in the old studio, but here I can just pop around the corner and grab the book. And so I can show you, this is what book all of the blocks are from. It's the A Very Coriander Christmas book. And I think you're used to probably seeing it done up in Christmas fabrics, but it's super pretty in all kinds of fabric lines. So that is another project I would like to work on. I do have copies of this book in my Etsy shop for sale, if you hadn't seen that before. Okay, number 3. Let's see what else I have here. Okay, put the Starberry log cabin quilt back together. This one has a little bit of a backstory. There was a project that I shared on here, maybe October, November of just this past year, 2024. And it was for a Christmas tree quilt made using like scrappy jelly roll type strips. And I shared how I made it, kind of a loosey-goosey tutorial here on the channel. But what you don't know is that in the midst of filming that, there were a couple segments where our equipment didn't work properly, and I ended up having to take apart some of the quilt and refilm a portion. So my quilt top, even though it looks completed, and it was completed at one point in time during my video, it's no longer completed because I had to take it apart for that refilming. So I would really like to get this put back together. Maybe when you see these little snips, you're going to remember when I shared that video. And actually, I've seen in person, someone showed me one of these quilts that they had completed. And I thought, oh, I wish mine was all put back together again, but it's not. I'm going to link to this video, so if you wanted to see what this quilt looks like, what it's supposed to look like, what it would have looked like if I hadn't had to take it apart, you can do so. That's kind of one of the things that happens sometimes when you're filming. When you're doing tutorial videos, usually everything works out fine, but that time it did not, and it required a little bit of extra work to refilm that portion of the video. But there it is. These need to be put back together. So that is on my works in progress list. Be nice if that one got picked sooner. So I am writing them all down using numbers and then every month drawing out a different number. So I don't know ahead of time what I'm going to draw. This one would be nice if it would be drawn a little bit ahead of Christmas so that I have time to get that done. Okay, you sit there. Redo that little rocking chair. This is another project you guys might have seen. I had purchased this little pincushion rocking chair many months ago, maybe even more than a year ago. I don't remember. It's been a while. And I want to refinish this fabric here, refinish and paint this white. So paint this, refinish it. So it's cute. And I had even bought this fabric, which I think it's a Lori Holt fabric, if I remember right. It's a canvas weight fabric, and I think it'll be so cute on this rocking chair. So I want to do that, and so I've added him to my list. Okay. Number 5, I want to make a bag, a patchwork bag, using one of the lines that I've skipped. So for the longest time, I would make a patchwork bag of some sort with every one of my fabric lines. So I have a really good bag for the first several fabric lines, but more recently, I haven't done all the fabric lines. So I did one for Starberry. I didn't do one for Callie & Co. I haven't done one for A Bloom. And I would really just like to make a bag using one of the fabric lines that I skipped. So I added that to my list. Okay, number 6, I have Send Off a Quilt Top. And I thought it would be fun if I showed a bunch of quilt tops and then let you guys decide which one to send off that month. So I actually did that for 2 different of my choices. So number 6 and number 8 are both send off a quilt top, viewers decide which one. I thought that would be fun, kind of add a little spice. Sometimes I know what I want to send off, but really I have a bunch of quilt tops that it doesn't really matter what order they get finished. They just really need to be finished. So I chose that for 2 different months. And then there's another one that I chose for 2 different months. It is the let go of a project you aren't excited to finish. And I have done this before sometimes, and you know, I can kind of look through my sewing room, look through my projects, and I will see projects and I think, I just don't ever really want to work on that again. And I know that there would be people that would think it would be a lot of fun to have that project, to finish that project. So I have a local shop that I can donate to that takes those sorts of unfinished craft projects and sells them. Or I sometimes will do a giveaway. So for 2 different months, I will be picking a project that I'm just not interested in finishing and sending it on its way in one manner or another. Then I also have make something just for fun. So this gives me the option to sew something that I might have had waiting, might have picked up a little bundle of fabric, just something that I think is fun to sew that month. And then the last thing that I have is to finish up my Cuddle Up Sampler quilt top. We just had this sew along wrap up last October, and I never put my blocks and my sashing and my borders together. So I have all the blocks done. I have all of the sashing pieced, and I just need to sew it all together. Sometimes when I host a quilt along like this, I get to the end of the quilt along, I share all of the tutorials, and then I'm just kind of done with the project for a little bit. And I have already made this quilt in its entirety once, so I already have it, so I didn't feel especially rushed to get this next one done. But everything is done. It just needs to be sewn together into quilt format. This is my Cuddle Up Sampler quilt. Many of you participated in this sew along. If you didn't and you've not seen these blocks before, here is what they look like. Very festive and Christmassy, and it's a really fun pattern. They're a lot of fun to piece, these blocks. I just got them pieced and didn't take it any further. So that is that project. So that is the last project on my list. And that's all 11. So what I'm going to do now is choose my number. If you want to also join in and you want to pause this video so you can quickly make up your list of 11 items before I choose my number, you can go ahead and do so. Or if you want to wait and see what number I pick and then purposely put the project you want to finish this month in that spot. You can do that too. But, you know, you can see we're really making this works in progress challenge our own and making it fun. Okay, what am I going to choose? I'm going to go with this one right here. There is a project I'm hoping it's not. I'm not going to tell you guys which one that is. Number 11. That's the one I was hoping it was not going to be. That's Finish Up, Cuddle Up Sampler Quilt Top. It's the one I was least excited. Maybe it's best that I chose that first, because sometimes when you get the thing that you really don't want to do off of your list, then it sort of snowballs and you can carry on successfully. Of course it would be that one. Okay, well, number 11 it is. Yay! Get to work on that. I haven't sewn a stitch yet in this new sewing room. My ironing board is one of the things that's not down here yet, so that needs to get set up and get down here, and then I'll feel like I can really start ironing. I could just bring my smaller ironing board in place and start sewing, but I just haven't done that yet. But good news, got number 11 to work on, so I'm gonna have to get that set up. Anywho, so let me know if you are joining in on the Works in Progress Challenge. I think it's always fun to do this all together. So the first Saturday of March, I'll be back. I will update you on my Cuddle Up Sampler Quilt. You can check in with me on some of these Saturdays as we go and see if I have made any progress on that. And then we can all just kind of touch base and share with what we may or may not have accomplished. There's absolutely no pressure in my Works in Progress challenges. I know that things come up, or maybe you're less than excited about the project that you chose to work on. So whatever happens this month, it's all gonna come out in the wash. So I don't know if that's the right phrase, come out in the wash. It seems right when I say it, but then I'm thinking about it and it's something about that doesn't sound quite right. So come out in the wash, come out in the ironing. It's not that. Everything will wash out. It'll all work out. You get the picture. Anywho, thank you so much for watching today. I'm excited to be back filming again, hopefully getting settled in, and we'll see what happens. Catch you again next time.